Hi, Dion Johnson here, strategic advisor and executive master coach to board level women. I'm also the author of this book, Influential Woman. Really great read if you haven't read it yet. And my work is really all about helping board level women to truly own their authority and step into their power so that they can express their true voice in the boardroom and beyond, so that they can be more influential, that they can really communicate their value and make a distinct and real and actual difference through their board level leadership. And today I want to talk about a topic I've been mulling over for a while now. It's a question that's really present with me. And the question is this: what time is it in board level leadership? What time is it? What's happening? Like, what season are we in? What's up at such a time as this in board level leadership? And I'm convinced, that it is a new season. It is a new day for us as leaders, for the whole landscape of board level leadership. And this, for me, is a pretty big contemplation. This is something that we should be considering if we want to stay relevant, if we want to stay effective as board level leaders today. So this is what I want to do today. I want to talk about my take on where we are in board level leadership at such a time as this. I like to say that you'd have to be living at the bottom of the ocean in a cave somewhere to not realize that something's up. It's an intense season in leadership right now globally. There is volatile, it's uncertain, it's ambiguous, it's complex, it's confusing, it's changing so fast. And for the most part, this is really unfamiliar territory for many of us. And the question has to be, so, as you see what's going on in the world of leadership, how is this landing for you? What meaning are you giving to it? How are you making sense of the time and the season that we find ourselves in globally as leaders at board level? I've been taking the time to think this through for myself, to organize my own thoughts around this. And you know what? I'm coming up with the realization that something really is trying to shift in our approach to board level leadership. Something's trying to shift in our approach as leaders around how boards function right now in response to all that's going on in the world. And as I think about this principle keeps coming back to mind that I want to share with you today. And the principle is this: that everything is created twice. Everything is created twice. And I really mean everything. So the screen that you're watching me on right now, my book, my phone, this dress that I've got on, the things that you're wearing, the seat that you're sitting on, everything is created in two phases. It's created first in this invisible realm called the realm of thought. So thoughts become things. Thoughts is the beginning of this creative process. So everything that you can see right now was first, before you could see it, it was a thought in the mind of the creator. It was a thought in the mind of the originator. And so this is a really powerful thing to see, that anything that you can create starts first in this invisible realm called thought. It's in our imagination, it's in our visualization, it's in our dreams, right? It's in our mind's eye. And once we see that thought and we give it attention, that thing is already in creation. That thing is already existing. That thing is already in its production process. And that's really important to really, I want you to really think about that for a moment. And then once we activate the creation of something in our thought, there's another phase that's required for it to be able to show up and for us to be able to see it in the here and now. And that second phase is called the process of formation. So we create it with the thought, and then we form it through activity, through a process. And depending on what that we're producing, the process will be different. But you know, we put our attention to it. We get it out of our head, out of our hearts, and into our hands. Through our hands, we create it, we produce it. And I think this two-part process is really critical for us to understand as board level leaders when we're trying to make sense of this season, this unfamiliar season that we find ourselves in. Because, you know, the way I think about it is like this. For about the last 15 years of my leadership journey, my own leadership journey, I have realized I have been privy to a huge amount of expression of thought about what we want to see in our workplaces, a new vision for the way that we live and work and inhabit our space together, that a new vision, a new imperative for marketplace operations and outputs and outcomes. We want to get to grips with some of the most prolific problems. We want people to be well. We want people to do well, live well, express themselves well. We've been talking about our ideas of how it could be. In fact, you know, we dream of a new normal, don't we? After the pandemic, we vowed that we were going to build back better. We passionately crying out, saying all people matter. We decreed and we declared that equity is a must. And yet here we are, coincidentally, almost 3 years, no, in fact, just over 3 years to the day since we all witnessed that racist murder of George Floyd on the TV, and we were also incensed about how much things need to change. 3 years later, and still the headlines are dominated with stories of gross injustice or inequality, or, you know, unhappy workforces, or pay gaps, or, you know, despondent workforces and unequal outcomes, and burnout and imposter syndrome and economic crisis, and all of this stuff is still with us. People are crying, people are suffering, even people are dying. And there is just this big gap between what we say we want to create and what we're actually creating, what we're actually manifesting. But then I realized that everything is created twice. Everything is created twice. And with this understanding, what I'm realizing is that it really is time for us to make a shift from just thinking and visualizing and seeing in our mind's eye to implementing and doing to bring about. We can't just keep talking about it and thinking about it. We have to be about it. And this is a really important shift that I want to talk about today, because we're tasked, aren't we, to move into phase 2 of the creation process, of the manifestation process. That if we're going to create the kind of marketplace, workplace, world that we want to, then we're going to have to go shift into this formation part. That you might say to me, you know what, Dion, that's not actually right, because we're really working hard at change. We're really, you know, putting a lot of money, maybe hundreds of thousands of pounds, maybe even millions of pounds into change and transformation projects. And, you know, I agree, but how are they working out? I heard somebody describe the process of looking at our results like comparing it with watching paint dry. You know, it's slow. You can't tell if it's happening. Is it really happening? You know, there's a gazillion reasons why it's slow. There's you know, it's complex, it's multifaceted. And I'm suggesting that one of the facets why progress is so slow is because though we wanted to get into this next production phase, this formation phase, we're trying to get new results from old marketplace systems. We're trying to get new results, create new, real, fair opportunity for people and planet and future generations to thrive. We're trying to get that from old thinking, old business approaches. And that's what I've gotten to. I've gotten to thinking about this old system that is driven to succeed based on profit and based on personal status and personal sense of importance and personal superiority. This old system is driven by values that by their very nature are competitive and actually exclusive. This old system is predicated on the belief that there's inevitably going to be winners and losers. And you know what? I think we are hardwired to play by that rule in the workplace. Even people who don't believe that personally, somehow in the workplace, in high-level leadership, in governance, that still seems to be the underpinning game, rule book that we're all playing by. And I'm suggesting that if we are functioning by the old system where profit and personal status is king, then it's impossible. I think that kind of system is incapable of creating the kind of results that we say we want now, one where profit and people can thrive simultaneously. So where I think being asked to come into this next phase of the creative process, and this next phase requires a new form, a new formation. We need to be about forming a new system that can actually define success by not just profit and status, but by what I call public wealth, where people, the public, and are able to be healthy and well holistically, where everyone has the chance to choose to be well, choose to be wealthy, choose to be expressive of themselves and make their most valuable and their most dignified contribution as a citizen. That a place where barriers and boundaries are removed so that people can move freely to make their best contribution. For me, this is what we all say that we want, and it's time for us now to get into stage 2 where we are actually forming this. We need to form a marketplace system that allows businesses to become the driving force of collective well-being. And this really, in my opinion, is the work that contemporary board level leadership should be concerning itself with, the formation of systems that are capable of new types of results. The trouble is, though, that I'm not sure if we know altogether how to do this, how to create, how to form, how to actually create this new type of system that is capable of giving us great profit and great health and well-being at the same time. And that's the challenge that's available to us. And as I was thinking about this, I remember a quote that I heard years ago that really touched me and moved me when I heard it, by a guy named Gus Speth. And Gus is a lawyer and a climate change activist. He's an advisor to the highest level of governance around this issue. And he said this, he said, I used to think that top environmental problems were biodiversity loss, ecosystem collapse, and climate change. He said, I thought that with 30 years of good science, we could address these problems, but I was wrong. The top environmental problems are selfishness, greed, apathy, and to deal with these, we need a cultural and spiritual transformation. And we scientists, he says, we scientists just don't know how to do that. I'm telling you, when I heard that quote for the first time, it really moved me because it summed up so perfectly what I had been sensing and perceiving in my own heart. what Gus is really saying here is that if we're going to actualize our desire for climate sustainability, in his case, that our focus needs to be on more than just profit, more than just personal status. But and you can swap that out, if you're not interested in climate sustainability, then you can put in whatever it is that your vision is. Like if it's about eradicating racism or sexism or ageism or any of the isms from our business process, then our focus can afford to be on just profit and personal status. And if that we need a cultural and a spiritual transformation. This is what Gus is saying. Gus thinks that we don't know how to do that. But what I'm suggesting here for your consideration is that we need to get to know how to do that. That it is now the business of boards. It wasn't before. Before, boards didn't need to think about spiritual and revolutions and transformation. Like, we didn't have to think like that. We didn't have to think about cultural and spiritual transformation, but we do today. And I'm suggesting that that's what we all need to be about. And if we want to know how to do it, then we can know. Like, this is the age where we've decided that we want to send people to Mars, and now there are people actually packing their bags, getting ready to go vacation on Mars. We've got driverless cars. We've got, we wanted AI to be able to write our books and our essays for us. And now we have ChatGPT. You can't tell me that we don't get to do what we set our minds to do. We can find a way to create this cultural and spiritual transformation that Gus is suggesting that we all need right now. And I'm saying the time is now for every board and every high-level governing forum and every individual leader, you and I, who influences that board, to transition to this stage 2, this phase 2 of the creation process, and get really serious about how we begin to form the kind of systems that are capable of profit and public wealth simultaneously. I mean, this is very exciting. My bet is that women are going to be the leaders of this next phase of board level leadership. But that's another video. That's a whole other broadcast. The question is right now, what do you think? Is it possible, do you think, to be able to be equally profit focused and people and planet and future generations focused too? How is this happening, and how are you contributing to this next phase of formation in your board level leadership, in your influential leadership journey? I'd love to know. I'd love for you to think about it, how it's landing for you, and then just hit reply. Let me know your thoughts. Or if there's a comment box anywhere around this video, then just go ahead and write in the comments. I think this is the work for us. I think this is the time that it is, that this is what time it is. This is what season it is in board level leadership right now. And I'd love to know what you think. See you later.